Prairie Mosaic is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, the North Dakota Council on the Arts, and by the members of Prairie Public.
Welcome to Prairie Mosaic, a patchwork of stories about the arts, culture, and history in our region.
Hi, I'm Matt Oline.
And I'm Barb Gravel. On this edition of Prairie Mosaic, we'll learn about ancient Spanish coins, hear some traditional Nepali music, and meet a student who sees his future in the bright lights of Nashville. Pat Cruz is a birch bark and quill artist from the Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe Reservation. Working with birch bark for over 30 years, he creates beautiful pieces of art, including baskets, birch bark paintings, and even cradles.
My name is Pat Cruz, and I'm a birch barker. We're in Mille Lacs Band of Ojibwe land. I make baskets and all kinds of different styles of birch bark stuff. Now I got cut out, I got shaped it. I wanted to do something different, and birch bark was a route for me to do that. I wanted to make canoes, I wanted to make baskets. I just like that stuff, and it stuck with me since I was little. So I've been doing birch bark off and on for like 30 years. Practically most of my life I've been doing cultural things because birch bark and the culture go hand in hand. So without birch bark we would never had wigwams to live in and survive a sustainable winter. Like it's 30 below zero out, right? If you've seen a real Ojibwe wigwam, you would understand, aha, this is how they did it. This is culture, this is the way it is. And then what about the birch bark canoe? We were able to travel from East Coast, West Coast, all the way to Montana through all the rivers and portage. What about bowls and cups? Medicine, all come from the birch tree. So birch bark goes hand in hand with culture. There's no perfection. There's no ever trying to be perfect with birch bark. As you see things crack, things break, things happen. And every piece of art that I made, whether large or small, is stressful. And it's like you're trying to perfect something that's an imperfect thing. As you can tell that, see it wants to go one way or another. See how it did that? You can, if it won't work one way, you can work another. And it's important to make sure that you be mindful of any art, anything that you're trying to do Native American. There's never perfection. And you're just the same as any art or any tree or anything. We're imperfect. So we try to mimic a good thing, but at the same time not trying to be perfect. I have a style from the old school to new school. So my inspirations are the original people, like old school Ojibwe baskets, and their baskets are phenomenal. If you've seen them, you would understand. So what we're doing is we're trying to tell a story with it through the art. So that's what a birch bark painting is. It's like I take a flat piece of birch, put it on wood, and then I put a design on there, whether it's floral or a turtle or a tree. It's a giant picturescapes of a whole forest with animals in it. But it's all different colors of birch bark. Some of my ideas for the birch bark paintings was there used to be scrolls and they would tell the history of us. So they would use these things to teach you how to hunt, how to survive, and that's what the storytelling bark is about, the paintings, is to teach you how to understand that nature is as important as each of our family members, the water, the air, everything we live on, no litter and all that, it's important, and we teach that through the paintings. Me and my apprentice Terry Hum found this cradle at the Libertyville, Illinois Dunn Museum. And she got a hold of him and arranged for us to go meet the people. We went and looked at it, took pictures, and took a little measurements and stuff. And then we came home and I spent 3 months trying to design it and make the same similar thing. But the cradle is so important because they were making these things in 1800s. And that's the last time anybody made one. We were lucky to be the two people to actually remake something so special as this cradle, because now we made the same thing in this generation instead of it being lost 200 years ago, 190 years ago. I would take up novel words to make people who are not Native American understand how important that is culturally to us, to remake such a thing and to have someone alive on the planet doing these things, or to teach it. It's hard to teach. It takes months, years. It's not something you learn overnight. What I would like people to take away from my art is the planting of more birchbark trees, to recognize the value of this tree, recognize the medicinal value, the baskets, the canoes, the finer art, and we're actually trying to create something that lasts for generations and generations, because our lives don't last that long. It's just trying to leave history for your family, that this is what I did while I was here. And these are the nice things I tried to make to explain what I was doing while I was here.
Damber Suba and Punya Gimri are remarkable musicians who play and perform traditional Nepali music. Both are originally from Bhutan and as refugees eventually found their way to Fargo. As part of the North Dakota Council on the Arts Folk and Traditional Arts Apprenticeship Program, Damber and Punya are preserving Nepali music.
सिमसिम पानी पर्यो बाटैमा सिमसिम पानी पर्यो बाटैमा झलझली मायाको तस्बिर आँखैमा झलझली मायाको तस्बिर आँखैमा सिमसिम पानी पर्यो बाटैमा सिमसिम पानी पर्यो बाटैमा झलझली मायाको तस्बिर आँखैमा झलझली मायाको तस्बिर आँखैमा भेट हुने कहिले हो केही थाहा छैन आउँछन् कि मायालु भन्ने आशैमा आउँछन् कि मायालु भन्ने आशैमा सपनीमा आउँछौ तिमी सधैँ नै मेरो सपनीमा आउँछौ तिमी सधैँ नै मेरो पर्खी बस्छु जिन्दगीको सेरो फेरो पर्खी बस्छु जिन्दगीको सेरो फेरो विपनीमा आउने कहिले केही थाहा छैन बिताउन जीवन यो साथ साथैमा बिताउन जीवन यो साथ साथैमा सिमसिम पानी पर्यो बाटैमा सिमसिम पानी पर्यो बाटैमा झलझली मायाको तस्बिर आँखैमा झलझली मायाको तस्बिर आँखैमा साँची राखे यो माया तिमीलाई भनी साँची राखे यो माया तिमीलाई भनी बिताउँदैछु जिन्दगी दिन गनी बिताउँदैछु जिन्दगी दिन गनी मन मेरो उडिरहन्छ थाहा छैन किन आएनौ मायालु छिट्टै नै किन आएनौ मायालु छिट्टै नै किन सिमसिम पानी पर्यो पाखैमा सिमसिम पानी पर्यो पाखैमा झलझली मायाको तस्बिर आँखैमा झलझली मायाको तस्बिर आँखैमा
In this Artifact Spotlight, treasure hunter Terry Shannon informs us about the Spanish coins he's found on the Treasure Coast of Florida.
Hi, I'm Terry Shannon. I'm a treasure hunter, and this is my Artifact Spotlight. These are Spanish coins. These are, this is a 8 real, and these are what they call cob coins. In 1715, down at the Treasure Coast, there was a fleet of 11 Spanish treasure ships that come up along the coast, and a hurricane caught them, and all 11 of them sank. And out of the 11 that sank, they've only found 6, and the average salvage has been 41 million per ship. And these are the coins that they were carrying to take back to Spain. When they went back to Spain, these would be melted down and turned into regular coins. They were shipping so much silver over, they did it the easiest and fastest way. So they'd have a bar of silver, or they'd pour out a strip of silver, and then they'd whack off about 1 ounce. And then the slaves would stamp them. They had the cross on the one side and the shield on the other side. Every coin is different, but they're all the correct weight. So an 8 real is 1 ounce of silver. This would be a 4 real, which would be a ½ ounce of silver. And this is a 2 real, and that would be a 1/4 ounce. A 1 real is 1/8 of an ounce of silver, and a ½ real, they're just a very small coin, and that would be 1/16 of an ounce. What they did is they had an assayer that would check every coin, and they would weigh it, so the weights are spot on. And if you looked at these coins, you'll see where they shaved off the extra. So in other words, when this one was cut off and it was stamped, it was too heavy, so they shave it off to get it down to the proper weight. And that's why very seldom you will find a cob coin with a date on it. And they used to cut these coins to make change. You've heard of the expression pieces of 8. That's where that come from. It's the same thing for the gold coins. They're called escudos. And the 8 escudo is 1 ounce of gold, a 4 escudo is a ½ ounce, a 2 escudo right on down. They went down to a 1 escudo. They didn't have a ½ escudo. They did later on when they started making the round coins. These other coins here, these are called maravedis. And they're called pirates coins. Everybody calls them a pirates coin. They're made out of copper. They don't have a lot of value. You know, they're all different. They're very rough and crudely stamped. This is, I believe it's called a Carlos and Juana Spanish coin. and it's a 2 real. And if you look on the front here, it'll have an M, meaning it was minted in Mexico. G, that's for the assayer. And we were able to date this coin by the assayer. And in the records, he only worked from 1544 to 1548. They believe this is probably the oldest coin ever found on the Treasure Coast. If not the oldest, it's one of the oldest. When I got this one, I got 2 of them. And the other one, it doesn't have much detail. When a ship sank with a lot of silver, the salt water causes like an electrolysis effect, and they'll get a coating over them they call coin silver. And if you can get that off, oftentimes you can get this pattern back, and that's what they're trying to do with that other coin. It's quite a treasure. There's a lot of people that have detected the Treasure Coast for many, many years and have yet to find one. So I've been real lucky. I've done really well.
Andrew McFarland composes, arranges, and performs all styles of music, but his studies at Minnesota State University Moorhead have him looking forward to a life of success in the musical city of Nashville.
If you know of an artist, a topic, or an organization in our region that you think would make for an interesting segment, please contact us at prairiemosaic@prairiepublic.org.
You can watch this and other episodes of Prairie Mosaic on Prairie Public's YouTube channel and follow Prairie Public on social media as well. I'm Matt O'Lean.
And I'm Barb Gravel. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Prairie Mosaic. Prairie Mosaic is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4th, 2008, the North Dakota Council on the Arts, and by the members of Prairie Public.